Welcome to the Octopus Movement podcast, where we celebrate unique minds and the extraordinary potential of nonlinear thinkers. I'm your host for today, Dr. Janice Campbell, and we'll be exploring how the power of nonlinear thinking can transform the world. Now, I would like to introduce you to my friend and our wonderful guest, Chris Michel. Chris is a coacher, a trainer, and a healer of the self-inflicted sales and business harm that keeps people from being effective and profitable. He's also the author of the Red Chair Experience, which I have to put in a plug here. It says it's about business, but it's also really about life. It really is a valuable resource, and you only have to read a page a day. It's fabulous. In my personal experience, all roads lead to Chris. He has been the source of my meeting so many wonderful, interesting, thought-provoking people, and actually was my gateway into the Octopus Movement itself. And I also just recently learned he's trained in comedy, so we may have to talk about that. So welcome, Chris. I'm glad you're here. And
thank you, Jan. You're making me nervous, and I don't like this right now.
I'm sorry.
Sure. All the ghosts and skeletons that are in your closet. Here we go. Let's go. Bring them all out, right? No. Very kind of you to say those things. And yet the book, which you were talking about, it's for success in life and business, right? It's a daily inspiration, and that's what I really hope people get from it. And I love that you put a little plug in there for it, because I get little things like that from people all the time now. And all the time is like once a week or twice a week, where I just get a text message or an email or a WhatsApp, right? I just get something from people on the regular that say, hey, this really resonated with me. And so it's kind of a cool thing. But anyway, I digress.
It is a cool thing. So, here we are in the Octopus Movement podcast. So I have to ask, how does nonlinear thinking show up in your life?
Oh gosh. Well, it's interesting. I met Perry through Maxine Cunningham with Pick My Brain. And so when I saw Perry the first time, I was like, I wanted to have a conversation with this guy. And so I did. And of course, a 30-minute conversation turned into an hour and a half conversation, which is kind of the usual for me. Mm-hmm. But when I really connect with folks, we tend to have these 90-minute conversations, and then finally we go, okay, we got to stop. Well, Perry helped me to unlock some of the things and help me to see some of the ways that nonlinear thinking shows up for me. Now, I've spent over 30 years in sales, and I used to think that sales, we just think very linearly, but Perry helped me to understand that. And through conversations, not just with Perry, but with others, it helped me to really see that as a salesperson, a lot of us have to be very nonlinear in the way that we think, because we have to hop back and forth. We have to be adaptable to the situation and the person or everything that's going on around us. And so we have to be able to think really across all kinds of lines. If you think very straight and very linear, you're going to be horrible at sales. You will not succeed. I will just tell you that now, because it's not a linear. It's just not a linear piece. You can't go step 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to go step 1, step 6, back to up to 5, back to 4, right? And you're kind of all over the map, but that's what really it kind of showed up for me. And now as a trainer, again, I'm forced to think out of the box a lot of times, because too often people get in this mode of, well, I've always done it this way, or I think this is the only way we can train. And they get stuck in this pathway of thinking. And you have to help people think outside of the box, or to really ask the questions that bring them out of their straight linear type of thinking. And so it really shows up in a lot of different ways in my life. And it's really kind of cool as I continue to do these things and continue to run across these opportunities. Hello, Michelle. And so we get that. I get to see these opportunities really more and more as I go throughout my day and through my week.
So in your experience, whether it's professional or personal, has this type of thinking, this type of being in the world led to a significant breakthrough or impact that you've had?
Well, I'm laughing because It's not, we think of it as breakthrough, but it's what I've realized is that things are there. In the universe, things are really always there. When we get a chance to latch onto it, really is kind of the amazing thing, right? And that's what kind of opens up our thinking to things, is this idea of nonlinear thinking. It's always been there. We just didn't know where it was or how to grab a hold of it, right? And now when we start to grab a hold of it, it all of a sudden becomes, oh wow, let me go down this road. And so yes, it has opened up these opportunities for me to think again, just more broadly, and to have more of an open mind. Growing up, I know for me, I can't speak for others, but for me, I get to see how when I grew up, I was taught to think very linear, and this leads to this, leads to this. And being able to step back and think more nonlinear, it's helped me to see more of the emotions, more of the really the universal type of thinking that I think a lot of us miss out on because we get so indoctrinated in the way that we think or the way that we do things. Mm-hmm. And as a result, we aren't opened up to things like everything around us is energy, right? And that thinking that everything that we see, feel, and touch, and that we can't see, feel, and touch is all about energy. And where does that come from? And how does it work? And how does it move? And right. And Janice, we've had these conversations, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's really cool when we start to go down those roads. But yeah, personally and professionally, it really has opened up my mind, at least in my way, or in my world, to start to see things a little bit more broadly and be open to more and new experiences, right? And whether it's reading or watching podcasts or listening to speakers or whatever it is.
Right. Or studying comedy, apparently.
Had to go there, didn't you, Janice? Here we go.
Hey, you're the one who put it on your LinkedIn page.
It is on my LinkedIn. That is true.
Okay.
It's doing exactly what I put it there for. It's a conversation starter. So here we go.
There you go. So in this very, having been trained to move in this very linear path and realizing that it was so much more fun to bounce around a bit. How do you view, I mean, in my view, I've said several times, is I think that linearity is a spectrum like everything else. We're not humans are not light switches. And so for me, it's, there's use in all of it. It's when we get stuck in thinking everything has to be very rigid that's the problem. How do you view that, and how do you view the whole idea of being nonlinear as far as how it impacts the world, but also just what's open to people as far as that goes?
I think being open to the idea that people are nonlinear. Not everybody is linear. In fact, nobody's linear. Everybody is nonlinear. They just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah.
And that may weird some people out, but that's okay. But the way that we think about things, if you think non-linearly, if you would open up the mind to what is around you and what you see in front of you, what I think you'll understand is that the world really is non-linear. And a lot of things around us, going and learning about comedy and learning about improv, right? You were in the theater for a long time, so you understand what it means to be an improv. And I took an improv class as well and learned how to say yes and a lot. And that is nonlinear. That's taking what somebody says and running with it, right? Or opening up that opportunity to, oh, what's in this box? Oh, I see that it's oh, yes, and oh, look inside, there's an octopus. Janice, why did you bring an octopus into this, right? Janice didn't bring an octopus to it, but that's the yes and, right? Now it becomes, oh yeah, now, well, I brought it because I thought it'd be fun to play with an octopus, right?
Right.
And gotcha. So that's really what it's kind of opened up for me is, and where I see things going is, it's just an opportunity, I think, for people to get out of their rigid mindset and really be open to the opportunities that are available around them.
Nice. No, I agree completely. I think, as I want to say, I've never met a linear 2-year-old. And that we all start out like that, right?
Right.
The the other thing I'm curious about, though, it's always interesting to hear different people's responses to this is, and also because in my world, all roads lead to or through Chris. Um, Thinking about the idea of a human mycelium, how do we mix mushrooms and octopi? How is this nonlinear and human mycelium thing go together in your mind?
The organic network of humans. There you go. Thank you, Perry. I guess the thing that comes to mind in terms of how do you bring those two together, and I think Perry's done a great job, and people like Perry, you, me, others like us, right? That you start to have these conversations, and what you see is the organic piece that is the mushroom and the tentacles, if you will, of the octopi, right? And how they all kind of work together. And I don't know much about octopus, I'll be honest, or the octopi, the real living, breathing animal. But I understand that they have multiple brains, right? And then they've also got tentacles. And so it helps them to really, I guess, broaden their horizons and just be a part of things, right? Be more flexible and be a part of their environment. And I think about how mushrooms are very much a part of their environment, right? I mean, we joke about, put me in a dark room and feed me crap all day long, right? But
Yes.
But mushrooms are organic, right? And having that, I think our nonlinear thinking is really organic, and we process things too much like food and that kind of stuff. We process things so much that they become bad for us. And so we've gotten away from this organic type of thinking, organic type of being. Like you said, I've never met a linear 2-year-old. Well, in the 4 agreements, it talks about that, right? How we agree that we're going to do certain things a certain way, and we'll call it a certain thing. And that begins the road to, if you will, this linear type of thinking for a lot of people. And if we would leave it organic, it'd be amazing to see what the schooling would look like, right?
Oh, yeah.
If we left it organic, if we had opportunities, and my daughter's a teacher and she teaches 5th grade kids, right? And the opportunity that she has to continue to open their minds, right? And not close it down, but really open their minds to what they're doing or what's going on and what the future looks like. It's a pretty heavy prospect. And I'm very grateful for her and what she does, because that's no easy task. But how do we continue to do things like that in mycelium and the octopus movement, right? And what does that look like, and how does it all come together? That's just my take on it.
No, I agree. And I think it's also about letting community organically come to be. I think this everybody fits into their own little box thing breaks down community in a way. My son really got into trees when he was little, and he used to get upset at the ones that were planted in tree wells in the city because they didn't have any friends to talk to through their roots. And I think that's also how the octopus movement and this human mycelium that we're all a part of, whether we're paying attention to it or not, is how that can flourish if we put the energy and the attention towards it. Absolutely. So, all right. So let's expand this wider now. How do you see this? How do you see the development of this network, of this community, affecting some of the issues that are challenging us now on this planet?
Well, I think, as with anything, that the more you spend time with it, the bigger it grows, right? The more impact it can have. And so you spoke earlier about how we got connected and how our connection led this to this, right? And similarly, right, my connection with Michelle, who we see is commenting on here, my connection with Michelle and Maxine Cunningham and Perry and other people like that, how they're all really intermeshed, and what that looks like from a global perspective, when we start to expand that, what does that look like, right? I recently had opportunity to, because of my position where I'm at, I was able to get a friend of mine, Anna Adams, to come and speak about AI and the importance of AI in the world that we live in and work in. And I look at those type of things, those connections, and where does that lead to? So who's the next person, right? So we were joking offline earlier. I get to finally meet you, right? And hopefully in about a month, I'm going to get a chance to meet you, or 2 months. And in person, though we've been friends for years, we continue to get these opportunities to see these things come together. And that, to me, builds the community and starts to impact the things that we say and do, and what we have influence over. So as we continue to expand what is the Octopus Movement and other things like that, right, that they start to have bigger and bigger impact on the world that we live in, because they become more and more important to who we are and what we do and the people that we're around.
Right. I agree. And I also think that there's an authenticity to living like that, to facing the world in a much more non-linear way. It leaves us open to more authentic connections with ourselves as well as with other people.
Right.
And in our case, it allows me at 5 o'clock in the morning to send you a text when I'm trapped in the Atlanta airport and I can't get out and there are no rental cars. Right. I think I had known Chris maybe 6 months when I did this, and we were panicking about trying to get where we were going, and we needed a car and we needed somebody to rescue us. And I was like, I know, there's an octopus that lives in Atlanta. I'll contact
him. Why not?
Exactly. Bless his heart.
Absolutely.
Luckily, someone else luckily, Chris stayed asleep, did not get my message. Another
yeah, I did get it pretty early in the morning, but luckily you were able to work it out before I woke up. Otherwise, I would have been at the airport picking you up.
Right. I know we've never met before, but yeah.
Yeah, great time to first meeting. Absolutely.
Yeah, crack at dawn. But I do think that it's because of that, both of us being willing to meet the world in a nonlinear way, and be open to that kind of authentic connection that allows for that kind of thing, which I think is really, I think it's what a lot of people are looking for, really, honestly. I mean, we all have our resumes that justify letting us be in the room. Here's all the things I do and all my skills and blah, blah, blah. But we're looking for somebody to actually see us on top of all that or underneath all of that. And
well, it's interesting that the things that people really want in life is to be seen and be heard, right? And there's a book called Just Listen, and it talks about this gap that we have. This I'm trying to remember what he calls it, but it's a neurological gap that we have, emotional neurological gap that we have. When we watch a show or we hear somebody talking good about somebody else, we feel that emotion of that other situation, but we don't get our needs met. And as a result, right, people aren't feeling the feelings that we have. And there's a gap there. And so there's almost like a FOMO that people get because they're giving emotions, but they're not getting that same feedback. And as we climb deeper and deeper into things like this, and we get the opportunity to share with one another, we get to see how we get more and more connected. And people want that. I think that people really want and hope for something like that in their lives, where they're deeply connected with other people. And that's really what life is about learning how to emotionally or deeply connect with other people.
So at this point, I'm thinking about the fact that you work with a lot of people who work in HVAC, and how do you bring to them in your training sessions, and also just as advice to our listeners, how do you encourage them? What are the tips you give them for being able to kind of crawl back out of the box, to tap into their own non-linearity and apply it? Because a lot of people can find that a little daunting if they've been in the box for a long time.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people and it doesn't matter what the business is, but there are a lot of people that get an opportunity to hear things that are outside of their box, right? I was having a conversation a month ago when we were out to dinner with the group that we were training with. And I shared about my level 3 Reiki master and blah, blah, blah. And they went, what? And I said, well, here's really kind of what it is. And it talked a little bit about energy. And one of the things that I try to do, being in sales for as long as I have, is trying to bring things to a point where everybody can understand. And so it's not hey, you'll only understand if you hear this. HVAC, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical can be all very technical, but how do I present it in such a way that it's not very technical and that can be understood by everybody, really? And it's those kind of things that when we start to talk about these universal laws and universal thoughts and the energy and Tai Chi and Qigong and right. I mean, all these other things that are like, oh my gosh, what is that? That's so outside of who I am. Yeah. Just because it's outside of who you are doesn't mean that you can't explore it. Doesn't mean that you can't listen to it. Doesn't mean that you can't be a part of it. It's just different. And just because you were brought up this way doesn't mean you always have to stay that way. And that's the beauty of being in the position that I'm in. I'm not going and teaching a yoga class or a Tai Chi class or a Reiki class. What I teach is the things that people need to know and see and learn, but at the same time, talking about things that are universal, right? That are out there, that are a part of who we are, that are nonlinear. And so introducing that into a conversation is not very difficult for myself. For a lot of people, they may think, oh, this is weird. People are going to think I'm weird. People don't think about you as much as you think they do, right? And that's what we have to remember is people really don't. We get concerned, and been there, done that. We get concerned with, oh my gosh, what is this person thinking about me? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is, are you living the authentic piece of who you are? And are you able to do that, the way that's best for you? And, we talk about setting boundaries, and what are the boundaries for? It's for us. It's not for everybody else. It's for us. So we can protect ourselves. And learning how to do things like that those are things that I get to share as I'm training, is how to be a better leader and how to take care of the folks that you're leading. And how do you get to do all these different things, right? I say this a lot, Janice, and you hear me, right? I get to do these things, and I don't have to do anything anymore, but I get to do these things. And that in and of itself is nonlinear, right? When we start to think about, you know what, I get the opportunity to be here or be there or listen to this or do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely. And even just the changing of that word makes a huge different space inside and out about how you approach it. And I also think it's about not concluding people. Both, and I think about the folks that you work with. I mean, the guy that came and fixed our HVAC several years ago when we first moved in, completely understood how to meet people where they were with what they did, and be interested in them and be interested in other people and be able and understand the space they lived in, not just the physical space and how the vents worked, but how they used it and what it meant to them. And I think adding that kind of humanity into any job, whether it's a school counselor or a plumber or a CEO or anybody in between, or anybody you just meet on the street who may not be working at all. The more we do that, the more that mycelium grows, right? And the more we all feel like we belong in a way that truly matters and isn't like a checkbox on the business list of, oh, we got to make people belong. Okay, everybody sat through that seminar, So the more it becomes a lived experience, I think. I love that you're imparting that to the folks that you work with. I think that's great.
Thanks.
for listeners, in case you haven't figured out, Chris and I have a mutual admiration society going on
Yeah.
about that. But we do need to start wrapping this up a little bit. How do people get in touch with you? How do they get to work with you? I mean, do they have to like switch careers and come learn how to do HVAC? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they don't. There's a couple of things, and Perry just put it up there. But if you want to check out my book, you're welcome to. It's at theredchairexperience.com. You can get a signed version of it. If you live here in the United States, if you're outside of the United States, I would encourage you utilize Amazon. They're fantastic. And I also did it on Audible, so you can hear my voice do the book. But yeah, I'm with the work that I'm doing at Service Nation. I don't have time, unfortunately, to go and do any of the coaching and that kind of stuff that I used to do. But I get to do a lot of that within the confines of the job that I have now. So I get to help contractors that are a part of us, whether they're heating and air or plumbing. And we don't just have here in the States, we've got representatives in Canada or Australia. And so we've got places that we work with different folks. But yeah, if you want to connect, we can connect on LinkedIn or on Facebook, anything like that. And yeah, I can help, or you can always come find me at the Octopus Movement.
Right. And you're also on Pick My Brain too, right?
I'm also on Pick My Brain. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Where you can sign up to have a chat with Chris and
that's
share
right.
all his. Again, I'm plugging the book, and I'm plugging the book not just because it's Chris's and he's my friend, but I'm also plugging the book because it's super useful. It's daily readings, and there's usually a quote that starts it, and then there's Chris's wisdom and understanding and questions, and there's a little commitment at the bottom of today I will, which I really like. And just briefly tell us about the actual red chair so people understand what the red chair is.
The red chair is a chair that I got from one of my original business mentors, which was my stepdad. And it got passed on to my younger brother. And after my brother died by suicide in 2019, it came back into my possession. And I'm holding on to it for my niece and nephew if they want it. But I'm holding on to that red chair, and it's a red leather recliner that when I wrote the book, I spent probably 60-70% of the book writing experience in that chair. And the idea behind the red chair experience is that you have a place to go that you can have life experiences meaning that you get to feel the feelings and you get to sit in thought or to meditate or pray. It's a place for people to go. And that place for you could be outdoors. It could be on your bike. It could be on a walk. It could be at a mountaintop experience. It could be by the seaside, could be by a river, could be by a creek, doesn't matter. But everybody should have a place that they can go and experience life, and that they get to go and have those experiences, because we all need to feel the feelings, and we all need to reconnect, whether it's through prayer or meditation, with God or the universe. And we all have that opportunity. And that's really what it boils down to, is it's just a place of experience.
And a really important one for everybody.
Thank you.
So thank you, Chris. This has been fabulous. And we actually are keeping to time. We're not running into our hour and a half to 2 hours that we usually do.
Yes. We've gotten better.
We have. Thank you for joining us, everybody else. If you have any questions about the Octopus Movement, you can contact me here on LinkedIn, or you can contact Chris here on LinkedIn. Or you can go to info at the octopusmovement.org, or you can just go wander around the website at the octopusmovement.org, and be sure it's the Octopus Movement. And just remember, as you go through the rest of your day and you contemplate this conversation, or you move on to the other things in your life, we all started out of the box. Embrace your inner octopus. Join the movement, and let's bloom a future that is fabulous and wonderful and bright for all of us. I'm Janice Campbell, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Please check out the rest of the podcast events on Wednesdays and Fridays. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can hear the Octopus talk. Take care.